So we're back with a brand new episode of Walkin Talkin with Tim, and today's guest is TJ. You know, I didn't ask you how to say your last name.
Colaeizzi.
You know, so I saw it this morning and I was reading it and I thought to myself, I'm going to have to ask him how to properly pronounce his last name.
Everyone does, if it makes you feel any better.
So it's TJ Colaeizzi, who is the founder and CEO of LifeBrand right here in Westchester. We're walking the streets of Westchester today. So to start out, I'm going to have TJ tell you guys exactly what LifeBrand is all about.
Yeah, Tim, thanks. LifeBrand is essentially trying to be the world leader in social media education, detection, prevention, and branding. Social media has really taken over everyone's lives over the past 10 years. There's so much good that can come from it, but also bad. You know, you guys probably see the news all the time. Somebody getting canceled or fired or something happening because of an old tweet from 8 or 9 years ago.
Families arguing.
Oh, it's nuts. And, you know, look, most of the times they're good people. Look, every once in a while there's a bad person that deserves to be canceled because of something they said or did in the past.
Right.
Most of the times it was a 16 or 17-year-old kid that said something maybe out of taste or out of color, but they don't deserve to lose their job or their family because of it.
Right.
So we've built technology that goes back and helps individuals clean up their social media. I mean, think about it, 90% of employers look at your social media during the hiring process. Why would you not go clean your social media before you apply for a job?
Especially college students, right?
Almost 100% of colleges look at your social media during the admissions process. You know, I'm 41 years old. Social media didn't exist when I was 18, 19, 20,
right,
walking around these same streets. I can't imagine what I would have been doing or posting on social media had it existed. So we're trying to help clean that up. But the other big part is we're helping big companies and brands protect their brand through the individual micro brands of the people that work for them.
Right.
You know, if you have 1,000 employees, every one of those 1,000 employees, whether you like it or not, has their own personal brand that can help or hurt your company. So to be able to provide a tool for companies to, without being big brother-ish or without snooping their employees' social media, give them a tool that they can provide to their employees to help build a stronger personal brand, clean up their messaging. Maybe the company wants to utilize their employees to share company objectives through their social media. We're kind of that one-stop shop to help people manage their personal brands through social media.
All right. So having said all that, that pretty much explains what you guys do. So let's rewind and go back in time and talk about how you started. So you started in the gym industry, right?
Yeah, I was a long-time fitness industry executive, both for LA Fitness Sports Clubs out of Irvine, California, and then for Crunch Fitness out of Manhattan. And for a small period in time, you know,
Very important
part in between, I owned a couple small gyms of my own, which, you know, as we were talking about earlier, is where I met my wife at one of those small gyms.
There you go.
And, you know, 8 years and 3 kids later.
And what was that story? I don't know how that went.
Yeah, it was it was funny, and she knows this, so I don't mind saying it, but, you know, a guy that I had worked with for years, you know, a good friend of mine, he's a, you know, phenomenal salesperson and manager, and he actually works with us here at LifeBrand. He was working at that gym, and, you know, 2 girls came in that were friends, and he said, hey, look, let's go talk to these 2.
There you go.
And, you know, 8 years later and 7 kids between the 4 of us. They've been together for about 8 years. Me and my wife have been together for about 8 years. Our families are still good friends. The kids are all friends. So it's, I guess you never really know when you're going to meet somebody and how long it's going to last.
You just never know when it's going to happen. You get hit over the head, right?
Yeah.
So, and speaking of that, you are a big family guy. So you got 3 kids.
Yeah.
And you just had a baby.
Yeah, a month ago.
A month
this past week.
And you said while we were walking around, you said you had kind of a scare, right?
Yeah.
It was a tough time, right?
Yeah, that RSV virus that's been going around. About 2 weeks after he was born, he had a cough, so we just brought him to the doctors. And the doctors were right away like, hey, we got to take him to CHOP, Children's Hospital.
Right.
And then as soon as we get there, they put him in an ICU. And we're like, wow, what just happened here? And you know, a lot of people don't know. In fact, a lot of our family, we didn't really tell because we don't think we wired. But yeah, he spent 3 days in the ICU at CHOP in King of Prussia. And it was really a scary time, but also, it makes it tough, We were talking when I was walking. I mean, fortunately,
you could probably hardly think while that was going on.
No, but unfortunately you have to. There's still
you got all this stuff
company
going
and
down,
employees
right?
going on that I think my wife actually took a picture of me sitting there the middle of the night with my laptop out working with the baby and the pet in the background.
I think we can get across before this car comes.
Yeah.
We're gonna try not to get hit by a car real quick.
But long story short, he's doing good. He's been home for a couple weeks now, and he's doing great. He's home with the rest of the clan. Our 2 older daughters. We have a 4-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old daughter, and pretty much everything I try to do, whether it's here at LifeBrand or otherwise, is for them. So.
Exactly right. Talk a little bit about how this thing got started, because you said it was something you started on your own, and you had an initial investor, and then eventually it came up to the point where you got involved with that start engine.
Yeah,
and that's a pretty cool story as well.
Yeah, I mean, it all started, like I said, I was a long-time fitness industry executive, and I clearly saw the problem social media was causing. We wanted to use it as a way to help build the brands of our employees, therefore building the brands of the company. And I spent forever searching the internet for solutions, thinking one had to exist. This is like one of those things that someone else had to have thought of already. And I tell people all the time that over the past 4 years, I can't tell you how many people, friends and family of mine, have come up to me and be like, "Yo, TJ, how did nobody else think of this before you?" Like almost like, how are you the one that was smart enough?
I think the same thing sometimes. Like, how did that happen?
It was a very clear solution to a big problem. And I had always kind of been an entrepreneur at heart, and so I left. It was April 24th, 2018. I left my good-paying corporate job to drive home from Connecticut.
I love how you know the date, actually.
Oh, yeah, Monday morning. I'll never forget it. Because I had coffee that morning with the executives of the company, telling them that I'm going to leave and do this. And then that was up in Greenwich, Connecticut. Had to drive back here to PA the whole time trying to figure out how I'm going to tell my wife, who at the time was 3 months pregnant with our second child.
Right.
And we already had a 3-year-old at home. And she doesn't work because she takes care of the kids. And I left my good corporate paying job to go start a startup. And I know nothing about technology, and I'm going to start a tech startup.
There you go.
And I've mentioned this in a couple other interviews that I've talked to. I think one of the earliest reassuring signs, you would think most significant others would have lost their mind.
Right.
If their significant other came home and said that. And she was surprisingly supportive. That maybe it's not as crazy as I thought it was to quit my job and do this.
But the Start Engine competition really helped kick things off, like you said.
Start Engine was super awesome. For those of you guys that aren't familiar with them, Start Engine is an equity crowdfunding site similar to Kickstarter or Indiegogo.
Right.
But instead of getting perks, you get equity in the company. It's one of the only chances for non-accredited investors to invest through public platforms. Everything's done through the SEC, and people do due diligence on behalf of a quote-unquote uneducated or unaccredited investor. And
you got noticed.
Yeah, they had just done a deal with Kevin O'Leary where they brought him in as one of their big advisors and partners, and they were hosting their first ever pitch competition that you could pitch your company to Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank.
Big deal.
Through Start Engine, but it was like a Shark Tank style thing where they were going to pick 5 companies.
Yeah.
You had 5 minutes to present, and then they grill you or he grills you afterwards.
Yeah.
And one of our earliest investors, who was super helpful at the early stages, Dr. Kager, he's a neurosurgeon.
Sure.
And at the very beginning, I always tell people some of our best investors brought way more value to the company than a check they wrote.
That's crazy.
He was able to, he introduced us to so many people and brought so many opportunities to us that actually in the long run probably meant more than $8, he wrote from a check.
Right.
But he had brought this to me and said, "Hey, why don't you apply for this?" I'm like, come on, what are you, nuts? Like, there's got to be so many companies that are going to apply. We're nowhere near, at the time we barely had a functioning minimal viable product. I didn't even know if I'd be able to display a working product during the pitch if we got that far.
Oh my God.
But we ended up being one of 5 out of nearly 1,500 applicants selected to pitch Kevin O'Leary in that first ever pitch competition. It was an unbelievable thing. And then, next thing you know, now we found out on a Saturday morning we were a finalist, then we were pitching on that Friday.
Oh, jeez.
And that just so happened to be...
Were you ready?
No, not even close. Some of these people that have made a living evaluating deals wanted to get involved was a really kind of a cool moment, but also that kind of helped be like, all right, I'm not crazy. We have something here. And, so now here we are,
Well, the next thing is you got $20 million plus of other people's money that you're responsible for.
That now adds to the whole other thing where I said earlier, it's not just my wife and kids I'm responsible for. I'm responsible for 50-some employees and their kids. I'm also now responsible for $20 million of other people's money. That is
It's kind of a holy shit moment, you know what I mean? When you've got that much money and this big of an opportunity and that big of a product.
But it's also, it's a problem. It's
a great problem.
It's a responsibility I don't take lightly. I have not slept and I won't sleep until we've sold this company, or at least until every single investor has gotten their money back. But the hardest part about it is, and what some people don't understand, and even some people internally had a hard time understanding, is if you're a tech company and you go out and raise $20 million,
right,
you're raising it to spend it. You're not raising it to stick it in the bank for a rainy day. You're not giving away equity in your company to just build some safety nest.
I was just going to say, there's no safety
You're
net.
raising it and telling people up front, this will give us a 24-month runway before we run out of money.
This is a without a net process, no doubt about it.
So that's the scary part, is telling them that I'm going to burn through
all that money.
And when I say burn responsibly, but we're going to burn through $20 million in probably 2 years. And it's tough. I mean, but then it's also the balance of that whole thing, what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Right.
When you're building something like this, do you just dump all the money into building the product out, not worry about revenue, give it away for free? I mean, there's people within our walls that would be happy not even to make any money off this. We should just be giving it away, because then we'd have that many more users, which means we'd have that much more data, which means our AI is that much better, which is actually more valuable to us than maybe $20 million in revenue.
And eventually down the line, you could also begin
But there's that balance. There's other people then that say, no, I want you to make money. So it's a really tough balance. But then, so do you spend that money just building out the product and tech and giving it away for free?
Right.
Or do you spend it on marketing initiatives? Because look, at the end of the day, people need to know who we are and they need to trust us. We've made a really big splash for ourselves.
I was just going to say, let's talk about the marketing initiative, right?
We've made some really big investments in pro sports teams.
Have you been to a Phillies game lately? Have you seen the big LifeBrand billboard out in the outfield?
It is, it's one of those things that...
And this way?
It's a huge investment. And again, a huge investment that at times... people can say, well, could you have spent that money on something else? Yeah, sure, we could have. But, you have to monitor.
Well, then you get the World Series.
Then, fortunately, you get things like the World Series coming into town.
And next thing you know, LifeBrand is on everyone's TV all over the world.
Not even just the Phillies. We really lucked out that we have partnerships with 4 Major League Baseball teams. And 3 of the 4 are the Phillies, Padres, and Braves. So it's even the teams that the Phillies played.
Right.
So both ballparks, we had incredible exposure all the way up to the World Series.
I was just at a 76ers game the other night, and your logo was everywhere.
Anybody that knows marketing knows that you have to touch somebody 10 to 12 times before they respond.
Yep.
So they need to see us at a Phillies game. They need to walk through our gate at Lincoln Financial Field. They need to hear us on
the
radio.
highway somewhere.
They need to see a billboard. They need to see a TV ad.
That's right.
And then eventually they respond. And what's crazy
see one of these shirts,
That's happening. It's happening now. We went from our sales team at times early in the year, when again we really just went to market this time last year.
I fully expect to see a Walkin Talkin with Tim shirt on this guy. some sort
you will.
of
I will. I'll get it up somewhere.
Something coming up.
We'll get it up somewhere. When we promote this episode, I'll wear it and take a picture. But we've all these different things that we've done. Now they start to come through. Like I was just saying, our sales team earlier in the year.
It's impressive.
We would do, as a whole sales department, maybe 1 new contract a month. Because again, brand new, just went to market. Now we're at the point where every sales rep is doing about a deal a week. And then we're doing a big deal every month or every quarter. And it's growing. But also the tech's got to keep up with it.
That's right.
This time last year, all we did was text analysis. So all we could analyze
changes.
were what you typed through a post or a comment.
Every 6 months, it all changes.
But now we do video analysis, we do photo analysis.
Boom.
So, now we're launching our TikTok integration this week. There's so much that's always coming and changing. And the one thing that our team's done really good a combination of our sales team, our product team, and the liaisons in between, is we've really listened to these early people that we've pitched, whether they've come on as a client or whether they've said, hey,
I saw you on Meltzer. I saw you on Dave Meltzer.
Yes, Dave, what's up, my man?
He's supposed to be a guest coming up.
I was supposed to actually be with Dave up in New York for the UFC fight this past Saturday night, but unfortunately I had some family obligations. But you need, there's all those different things that happen that, like, our sales team now is really picking up. They're starting to take the feedback from some of these big clients and saying, look, we can get you this massive multi-million-dollar a year deal, but in order for that to happen and make it sticky enough that they stay, you guys got to do X, Y, and Z. So the product's learned as you go and as you grow, and you learn to prioritize things. And one of the hardest things, I'm not as good at it as our COO, Gemma, is. She's really good at saying no to people. When they come and she can just say, no, not right now. That's not our priority. And you need to know that, but you also need to know, what that product roadmap looks like, not just for the next couple of days, but for the next 6 months and year. Because again, you changing something for 2 to 4 weeks could delay all these other people and prevent blockers for other people that weren't part of that project because they were counting on you sticking to that roadmap. Is LifeBrand. But that's part of marketing. I mean, the first part is getting people to know you exist, and then it's telling a story. So now, this year coming up in 2023, you'll see a lot of our marketing initiatives are
a lot of storytelling.
People like Devontae Smith, who's an ambassador and an equity holder for our company, telling the story of what we do through social media ads, showing what we do. Austin Eckler, star running back for the Chargers. We have an amazing relationship with him and with the Chargers out in LA, him telling the story about what we do. So that now that people know what LifeBrand is, or that they've heard of it, now they know what it is. And now they're starting to say, oh wow, my company could really use that. I could really use that.
I could really use that, right.
And all of a sudden.
But what does a guy like you do? A guy that doesn't sleep, a guy that's got everybody else's money, a guy that's got a big family, he's got a big work family, you got all this stuff going on. What do you do to relax? Where do you go? Where's your vacation spot? Right? When do you get away?
I don't relax much. My only time that I can turn my brain off is we have a house in Ocean City, New Jersey.
There you go.
That we go to almost year round. We were just here this weekend despite it being cold.
Good.
Because if I'm home, I live 10 minutes from our office. If I'm home on a Saturday or Sunday, me and one of my daughters are coming into the office. They like to run around, play, color. And I'm working. Or I'm setting meetings even on a Saturday. There's something about when I go over that bridge onto the island of Ocean City,
and it just goes away.
I can unplug and genuinely give my wife and kids the little bit of attention of mine they're going to get for the week that they deserve. And I can kind of turn things.
Favorite artist?
Favorite artist?
Any kind of artist, doesn't matter. Could be Frank Sinatra, it could be Eminem, who cares?
It's funny you just mentioned two of my favorites, which you would think aren't in the same
realm.
Yeah, I mean, love Dean Martin.
Me too.
I'm like a real old school. I tell people all the time I probably should have been born in the 50s.
Forever cool, Rat Pack Radio.
I think that, and actually just what I really love is local artists that took their passion from maybe high school or college and have turned it into something now. For example, a girl I went to high school with and is good friends with her husband, Kristen Tierney Art. I'm gonna give her a little shout out. She does these amazing, I'm gonna not do it justice, but just amazing art that a lot of them are like shore themed and just bright, and she does a lot of stuff with flowers and beach type decor. And I'm having her do a piece for our shore house just because. But I think she does amazing work, and I love seeing people that just kind of like what I'm doing here, took an idea and are actually building it into something and not. I think a lot of people, you hear people say this all the time. People regret the things they didn't do, not the things they did do when they're sitting there on their deathbed or when they are in their 60s or 70s, and to see people like her go out and follow her dreams and turn it into this amazing business where there's this demand for what she's doing. I think I started talking to her a year and a half ago about having this thing done for our wall.
It's really important to have that mindset where you're thinking to yourself, you know what, I don't want to be, whatever it is, 85, 95 years old in a rocking chair somewhere, where I can't get up anymore, thinking to myself, man, I wish I would have. And that's where it ends. It stops
and
right there.
Think also, like, at least with me, what it comes down to is, if I work for somebody else, I'm always at their mercy and at the mercy of their decisions.
100%.
You know, if you work for another company and
My clients are my boss.
people might say, "Oh, that's safe. That's a nice, safe job that you have there."
Yep.
Well, what if that person running that company is irresponsible and one day it goes under out of nowhere? What if that guy wakes up in a bad mood one day and fires you? I've always come from the thing that I will live and die with all the responsibility on my shoulders. If we fail, whether it be LifeBrand or whether it be something else, and it was on me, like, I can live with that because I know that I did everything
you could possibly do
to make it work. I don't have to second guess if somebody else could have done something better. I know I did it all, but I also have succeeded at these things that I've done. And
Absolutely. So if people want to learn more about LifeBrand or get a hold of you somehow or whatever it is, because I don't know if I don't know what you do as far as people getting a hold of you. If they want to learn more about LifeBrand, well, how would they do that?
Yeah, definitely go to www.lifebrand.life. Our website has all kinds of information about, you know, how we can help individuals, how we can help companies. If you're wondering if this is a product or a service for you, if you have social media or if you have employees that have social media, so that's probably almost every one of you. If you're watching this right now, our solution is for you. You should use it. Go to lifebrand.life, or you can go to our Instagram, lifebrand.life. I used to freely just give my cell phone and email out. That has since been a horrible decision. No, I mean, it's good, but I now need a new phone. But if you want to reach me directly, email my assistant, chelsea.dugan@lifebrand.life. chelsea.dugan@lifebrand.life.
They can also follow you on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, you can follow me on LinkedIn, TJ Colaeizzi. You can follow my personal Instagram and Twitter, which is at Tommy, Tommy J Cola, Cola, Tommy J Cola. And you can kind of follow along, not just, you know, my Instagram, I really try to make it a mix of what we do here at LifeBrand, but also my personal life.
A little bit of what you're doing.
Try to sprinkle, you know, if you look at it, it's pretty much going to be it's going to be my kids or probably some event that we're at. And but also, like, one of the things we talked about earlier that I'm going to try to do a better job of sharing is the moments that most people don't share on social media. You know, me and you talked earlier about how if you look at my social media, you're like, man, this guy's got it great. He's at the World Series, then he's at a Eagles game, and then he's golfing with this guy and that guy, and they have no idea, like I said, the nights that I'm sitting in the ICU with my son strapped up to breathing machine, still trying to work. They have no idea the 4 a.m. flights that have layovers in the middle of the night.
Not just that, just the great concern you have for everybody else's money that you're hanging on to.
Yeah, well, that too. You know, for them to see that, yeah. Like
no
I said,
one can see any of that.
There was 2 different times in the past few weeks that I had to do these cross-country tours of meetings where the 1 week I was on, it was either 8 or 9 flights in a 72-hour period.
I hate flying.
From here to California to Vegas to Tampa, back. And I mean, layovers at 3 o'clock in the morning. You ever take a layover at an airport at 3 in the morning? Nothing's open. So like, there's nothing you're going to do for 2 hours. You know, like the clubs aren't open if you have like, you know, the Admirals Club or some the Amex Club. Restaurants aren't open. So I'm going to try to do a better job of sharing like the story along the way, because I think sometimes I make it look
People
like this is all
know.
fun and rainbows. Let me tell you, it's not.
It's not.
It's not.
It's not. It's hard. This is hard stuff.
It's really, really hard.
If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. That's what I say. So, but listen, thanks for being on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Really, seriously, thank you.
This was great. To everybody out there, thanks for watching. Keep on walking. Keep on following. Follow me on Instagram, Walkin and Talkin with Tim, and look for some new stuff coming up in the upcoming weeks. We will see you next time on Walkin and Talkin with Tim.